What is going on, guys? Stephen Harvey here from Plan to Profit, and in today's video we're going to be talking about 5 places where you can take $1,000 that you might have just come by and put that $1,000 into. Now, if you are new to the channel, then welcome. As I mentioned before, my name is Stephen, and this channel is based on personal finance, investing, and business. So if those are things that you like to check out and see and watch more of, then hit the subscribe button down below and you can keep up to date with my videos. And of course, if you're enjoying this video at any point, then hit that like button down below. However, we're moving straight into number 1, and that is education, okay? Now, chances are, if you're coming across $1,000 for the very first time, you're either in your teens or maybe coming out of school, high school or university, and you're taking your first steps into what might be a part-time or full-time job. And so I personally rank this at the top of my kind of investment pyramid, what I like to call it, because education is really important. You should be investing in yourself. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy any Gucci bags or those new pair of on-brand shoes. What I'm saying is investing in things like books or any kind of online courses. You could even get yourself a real estate license if you would like to get into that industry, or you can even start your very own business from scratch as well, because sometimes you can start things just like my business. I started it for as little as $100. And that's obviously not a clickbait sort of thing. Sometimes you see these things floating around, but you can really do it. You just have to know the certain ways to do that. You can even get started on an online course where you can learn certain things. I'm not selling you anything here today, so I don't have a course to sell, but it is something I did when I started my business. I bought a course, so I invested a bit of money there, started my business, and away I went. Now, of course, when starting your very own business, there are risks involved with that. You could succeed or you could maybe fail. But at the end of the day, each way, whether you fail or whether you succeed, that $1,000 is definitely worth the lessons that you're going to learn along the way. Number 2 now is pay down any high interest debts. Now, we're talking about credit cards, loans, anything like that, even student loans. Now, fortunately in New Zealand, we do have interest-free student loans, so we're very grateful for that, unless you obviously decide to leave the country. But if you do have any high interest debt that you owe, I would highly recommend paying that down, or either putting the whole $1,000 or a portion of the $1,000. That is completely up to you. But at the end of the day, you don't want to be playing catch up with any of your debts. If you're failing to make payments or falling behind, it's always a really terrible feeling. I have friends that have been in the same position, and really it is quite a stressful time to be in. And so before you even consider investing that money into kind of like stock market or anything like that, even if you invest in something that averages a 7 or 8% return, if you actually have a high interest debt of 10% or more, even at 4% or more as well, then you can kind of see that high interest debt really just eats away at those kind of investment gains that you would make in other places. So once you get that out of the way, then any of those investment gains are obviously like 100% profit in your pocket. Number 3 now is establishing a rainy day fund or a emergency fund, okay, whichever way you like to call it. However, just some statistics for you now. About 59% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency expense. And also know that a large amount of you guys watching my videos are from New Zealand, so a couple of New Zealand statistics for you here, and one of those is a third of New Zealanders cannot cope with a sudden job loss. On top of that, 1.4 million Kiwis do not have an emergency fund, and 20% of Kiwis would not be able to afford 1 week or more of their living expenses if they were to suddenly lose their job. And of course, we don't want to be dipping into any of our investments that can cause disruption, okay? So it's really important to have this kind of emergency fund set aside. What I would personally do is I would put aside about 3 to 6 months of my personal living expenses. So if I was to lose my job, like, not that I do have a job right now, I'm self-employed, but yeah, if I was in a position of losing my job, I would want to ensure that I would have at least 3 months, even up to 6 months of the kind of money that I can put towards living for that duration of time. Number 4 now is put aside some savings, okay? Now, I don't want to get this confused with the rainy day fund or emergency fund, okay? This savings is completely separate, okay? This is what you can be used as what we might call a do whatever, whenever sort of fund, okay? So you can take this money, whether you want to go on holiday, so you're saving for a holiday, not that that's going to be happening anytime soon, or maybe you want to save it and put it towards kind of like a cash fund and have cash ready for any kind of opportunity. An example of this is obviously in 2020, in the stock market, we have the March lows, and for about, I think about a 2 or 3 week period, maybe even less, we had the stock market at some of its lowest points in a lot of companies and everything like that during that uncertainty and obviously during the crisis. So what would happen is a lot of people that had a lot of cash on hand and on the side, they took that cash and they decided to invest it into a whole bunch of different companies and things that they knew would possibly recover over time. Much like back in like 2008, a lot of people bought in then. Right now, they kind of saw this as kind of a big stock sale bonanza, and they went in with that cash and brought in, and then nowadays they're up pretty much over 100% or more. Moving on to number 5 and our very last, and before I do so, like I said at the start of the video, if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button down below, and if you're enjoying the video so far, hit that little thumbs up button as well. But at number 5, we do have investing in the stock market or even investing in cryptocurrency. So let's say you've ticked off pretty much most or all of the things that I've said previously, then you can actually look at taking that extra money and putting it somewhere that's going to give you kind of a return on investment, or in what some people like to call make their money work for them. Now, one very important thing to consider is only invest money that you can afford to lose. So if any of your holdings, so whether it's stocks or ETFs or anything like that, like companies, then if any of those were to go to zero even, then you would have to be prepared to be okay and to walk away with actually absolutely nothing in hand and be able to afford to lose that money. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor, so anything I say, I don't want to be taken as financial advice. So what I would say though is, in my personal experience and what I do personally as well, is I invest more long term. That's my kind of strategy. So you want to decide whether you want to be day trading, swing trading, or maybe you just want to be more passive, sit back and kind of, yeah, like I said, let your money work for you over that long term, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or 20 plus years. In fact, they actually conducted a study where they found that people that held their investments for 20 years or more actually came out with a positive return on investment. So a lot of people that are kind of second guessing the stock market, or they think it's risky or dangerous, anything like that, I believe, and this is why I decided and first got into the stock market, is if I were to hold my stocks for a long term, again, investing in either ETFs, so these are exchange traded funds, they're kind of a collective of companies that your money is distributed in certain percentages into those companies. So these are kind of less volatile. You won't see as many ups and downs, and kind of the averages of these ETFs can see around 7 or 8%, or in fact, even I think one of the ARK funds as well is around about 100%. So there are certain things. However, we have ETFs and we also have companies. So if you want to invest directly into a company, whether it's Tesla, Apple, Amazon, now these are quite big companies and fundamentally they're quite good. So their stocks are generally perceived as kind of growth stocks that are going to continue to go up over time. Then you have obviously a few more riskier stocks, but obviously that is for you to check out. I cannot advise you what to invest in, but I would say obviously do a little bit of research, especially into those companies, because you'll see they will obviously go up and down a lot more. So the ups might be high, but also those downs could be quite large as well. So that is the top 5 places where I would take $1,000 and put into. So if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like it. And in the comments down below, let me know kind of which one of these places is your preference, or where might you find yourself on the pyramid. Are you looking at investing into your education, or maybe you're kind of looking more into the stock market or creating a bit of a rainy day fund? Let me know down there and I'll be sure to reply to it. And of course, if you want to keep up to date with my videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. That is all from me today, and we'll see you guys in the next one.